Good afternoon. Welcome to the 2021 Eastern Tennis Conference. We're very happy to have you here with us today. And you are now in the 2021 Tournament Pathway and New Regulations session. This is a 90-minute session. We will end at 1:30, and the meeting is being recorded. If you're able to stay with us till the end, we're going to have some fun raffle prizes to give away. So hopefully we'll have full attendance until the end at 1:30. And before we get started, we're just going to ask everyone take this quick Slido question. If you could answer this for us. We know we have a variety of individuals joining us today, and we just want to kind of get to know who's with us. So if you could answer, what is your primary role? Are you a parent of a player? Are you a tournament director? Are you a coach? Are you just an active listener, tennis enthusiast? So all you have to do is go to slido.com, type in that numeric L484, and go ahead and submit your vote. And we're just going to give everybody a couple more minutes here so we can capture this good data. We have a very busy agenda for you today. We have a lot to get through. I still see some numbers fluctuating. Again, welcome to everyone that's just joining us. Okay, great. Thank you for participating in that Slido. So Gustavo, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If you could just pick it up from here. And we'll be right back with everybody. So we have, like I said, we have a lot of content to cover. I am very excited to share that we have 3 exceptional guest presenters joining us today. We have 2 USTA National staff members, Heather Hawks, who's the Senior Manager of Digital Services with Community Tennis at USTA National, and Adelaide Wood, who's the National Manager of Youth Competition, as well as USTA Eastern Section Chair of Officials, Dave Hansies. Today, we're going to go through, Heather's going to present on the ITF World Tennis Number. Adelaide's going to speak to you about the new Net Generation PlayTracker. Elena Bantovska and I are going to go over the junior comp structure changes, and Dave's going to do some fun trivia for us at the end. I do want to applaud the Eastern staff joining us today, Elena Bantovska, who's our manager of junior competition and player development, as well as Gustavo Loza, who's our manager of junior programs. They've done a tremendous job navigating all these changes. They're just a great group of people to work for. It's an amazing team. So happy to have them here joining us today. Also, the volunteers on our junior competition committee, coaches commission, subcommittees, which this past year have included a return to play group, sportsmanship, 10 and under, tournament rules and grievance, officials, and a system review task force. So thanks to all our volunteers for being available to help us make the best competitive pathway for the juniors in Eastern. And now I'm going to pass it off to Heather Hawks to speak about the ITF World Tennis Number. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Julie. Good afternoon, everybody. So the ITF, as some of you may have heard, have been working on a World Tennis Number. What this is a tennis rating that is designed for all playing segments. So this is sort of like, you know, a golf handicap, if you think about it that way. The idea with the World Tennis Number is that everyone can use it no matter what they're trying to do with their play. The USTA has been working closely with the ITF for the last 2 years on a steering committee. That steering committee is comprised of the USTA, the French Tennis Federation, as well as the LTA. And what we as the steering committees have done has said this is what we need from a rating system that will help us facilitate development and level-based play in our respective federations. Now, as you know, in the US, we're in a unique position because we already have a couple of very active rating systems here with NTRP in the adult space and some segments engaging heavily with UTR. We've had that front of mind in all of our meetings and discussions with the ITF and other tennis federations. The ITF is currently rolling out the World Tennis Number in some federations, including Singapore and Ireland. LTA is coming up next, and over 100 federations have signed to get into the queue to implement the World Tennis Number. As you can imagine, this is a very exciting global initiative, and the USTA has been really excited to be a part of it. What the USTA is getting ready to do with the World Tennis Number is start to test it, look at it, and figure out how we want to interact with it for our player segments. The first segment that we're looking at is our ranked junior tournaments. The reason we're looking at World Tennis Number in this segment specifically is because the ITF is going to use the World Tennis Number as part of their acceptance criteria for their junior events. So the USTA really needs to know and understand how we're going to make this accessible to our players and let them use it as a tool and a means of engagement to understand their play and their pathway relative to the ITF events. In addition to that, though, if we like the rating, we have the ability to use it however we choose. So what we're looking to do is to create education campaigns, training campaigns, and several event pilots in the US so that we can start to get feedback from folks on what the World Tennis Number is doing for them and what they're finding as they use the World Tennis Number. The World Tennis Number is a scale of 40 to 1. Beginner players will start around 40, 36, somewhere in that range. And the range of 1 is obviously for the top players in the world. So every player is on one scale. That's why we see the larger scale of 40. I know many of us are used to the smaller scales. The ITF World Tennis Number is published weekly, so it is a dynamic rating. And in the US, we will share it in the hundredths. So where players are able to see that World Tennis Number in their profile, they will be able to see the 100th rating that they have. Some of the key features of the World Tennis Number are things like something called a game zone. What that game zone will do is show you where you're going to get the best play. If you play at the bottom of your game zone, you're pretty likely to win a match. If you play at the middle, you're pretty likely to have an unpredictable outcome, against your opponent. And if you play at the top, you're likely to have a very challenging match in which you learn a little bit on the court. The ITF has been working hard to figure out what other digital tools they want to offer with the World Tennis Number. And the USTA has been working closely with them to figure out how we want to service our communities with the World Tennis Number and additional digital tools. So look for things later in the year, like a World Tennis Number in your player profile. For those of you who are tournament directors, start looking for World Tennis Number later in the year when you're looking to seed or select events. It may become a tool that's available to you. And for those players that are in the adult segments, don't worry, we're not going to replace NTRP. And we're looking at how we can use the World Tennis Number to serve recreational players in the adult space. Is this a tool that can help them find the right play for them? Whether that be a drop-in clinic, a partner to play with, or an upcoming event, we think that the rating, when used as a tool, as part of other digital features, can help players find the best play experience. We're also talking a whole lot about level-based play. I'm sure many of you have heard about level-based play in your area. With the advent of reduced travel, with the advent of many new local players to the game of tennis, which is very exciting, despite difficult times, level-based play helps facilitate local play. So what we're looking at with the World Tennis Number is how it can help providers create events that put players in the best experience possible on the court. So look for more to come in the remainder of 2021. We'll be sending out notification emails with information. We'll have web pages where folks can go to see frequently asked questions as well as submit their own questions. And for those of you that run events, you may be asked to help us pilot. If you have any feedback or comments or questions, please feel free to submit those. Julie, Elena, I think that's my high-level update for today.
Thank you so much, Heather.
Thank you. We did not have any questions come in, but if we do get any, we will maybe circle back with you. If we're not able to answer them, we'll circle back with you. So thank you so much. We're really excited for the World Tennis Number. Can't wait for it to hit the scene.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
Bye, Heather. And before we get into some more information on the pathway in Eastern, even though all the challenges 2020 presented, the few tournaments that were able to get off the ground did nominate players for outstanding sportsmanship and Tournament Director of the Year. So congratulations to this year's award winners. And they were presented this year since we couldn't do an in-person presentation. We actually did a virtual message to our award winners, and I think Gustavo is going to share that with everybody now. I did see that Emmer Cruz, Tournament Director of the Year, had joined, so congratulations, Emmer.
Hey guys, it's John Isner here. It is my honor to let you know that you have been selected by the USTA Eastern section as the Sportsmanship Award winner in your age division. Your nomination was submitted by a tournament director or coach for exemplary behavior during the USTA Eastern section event in 2020. This is an incredible honor, and we're so proud that you're representing USTA Eastern tennis. We know how difficult it can be to maintain integrity in a sport that requires tremendous mental toughness and presents countless obstacles. Being a champion requires winning with dignity, but more importantly, losing with dignity. We want to thank you for your outstanding sportsmanship and for being a true champion of the sport.
On behalf of the USTA Eastern Junior Competition Committee, I want to congratulate you on receiving one of the 2020 Sportsmanship Awards. There were many great nominations, and you were selected because of your outstanding efforts. The committee is proud of the way you represent USTA Eastern tennis and wish you good luck in the upcoming year. Congratulations.
Thank you, Gustavo, for sharing that. It just brings back the point that sportsmanship is a big initiative for us at Eastern, something we do want to keep focusing on promoting. And we are going to be putting on our USTA website this year a peer evaluation. So it's going to be a peer form, actually a sportsmanship form for players and parents to be able to nominate their peers. So more to come on how to be able to do that, but we do want to keep making sportsmanship a contagious effort in our section. And now we're going to just move on to junior team tennis. We're going to briefly talk about how much that is also changing. This is a program that's also in the process of a lot of change. We've, like Adelaide was mentioning, junior team tennis plays an important role in the Net Generation PlayTracker for players. So Gustavo Loza, who's our manager of junior programs and oversees 10 and under, has done a tremendous job adding 10 and under junior team tennis to the 10 and under competitive calendar so that the programs are integrating better into the competitive pathway instead of competing with each other. Also, we've done the same through the 12s through 18s calendar. We've created specific weekends in the 12s through 18s calendar that have developed these national championship qualifying events. And specifically in the advancing divisions, we are moving forward towards a more event-based product and hoping we can get more participation in junior team tennis because it is such a great product. It really mimics what college tennis is going to feel like, and there is a pathway for it. And like Adelaide said, we know that consumers want more team events. So really making a concerted effort to bring junior team tennis to the competitive pathway for both our 10s and 12s through 18s. And then we'll just move on to the next slide. And Adelaide alluded a little bit to this when she presented, but the technology has been another big part of all these competitive structure changes. TennisLink was a 20-year-old technology. It had been with us for a very long time. And it was doing what we needed it to do, but it was outdated and it was clunky and it was time for a change. We do realize that, with change, there are some bumps along the road, and we do sincerely apologize for some of the challenges. that we've all been experiencing. So really do just want to reiterate how grateful we are for everyone just being patient with us, for understanding that a lot of these are out of our control. We're doing the best we can to provide the best customer service given sort of some of the circumstances. This technology in every aspect has changed. I don't know how many people know that, so I want to just highlight that. Not only has it changed on the tenant under side of the system, the search engine, as many of you know, is different. The way tournament directors apply for tournaments has changed. The way the rankings are operating has changed. Even the software that makes the draws and does the selections and does the seeds, that's also changed. And the app, I know we've got a lot of questions about the old app not working. There is a new app that will be presented and hopefully launched at some point this year. I can say that, we've had some early issues with the software, but the new Play Tennis and Serve Tennis software is going to be amazing, more modern, greatly improved from what we've been used to. We've just got to get through some of these early issues. So again, thank you for your patience. One last piece on technology. We realize there's a lot of platforms out there besides USTA. And I think since this migration over to the new platform, we've received a lot of questions about Match App and UTR, and things aren't really matching up. Things don't look the same. And I just want to say that USTA is not responsible for what they display and what data they have. That is out of our control. So I know we get those questions a lot. I would just say go directly to those sources: Tennis Recruiting, UTR, Match App. Go directly to them if you have questions about something they're displaying that's different than what's on the USTA website. And we can go to the next slide. This is another big talking point that we have with parents and tournament directors. It's regarding concurrent tournaments. Basically, bottom line is we really don't want players on the acceptance list or the competitors list for 2 or more sanctioned events that overlap. And because of COVID, we have made some revisions to the concurrent tournament rule just to help provide additional playing opportunities, given we're in this new limited draw environment. We have really tried to do our best to stagger deadlines amongst the regions, amongst the levels, with the higher level tournaments closing before the next level lower tournaments, to give players that fallback, that opportunity to at least get into something in those overlapping weekends. And so if we can just go to the next slide, we're just providing a few examples of what is okay. So here's an exception to the rule. Example number 1, tournaments scheduled start date is January 15th. The other one's January 18th. And according to our concurrent tournament rule, those start dates are more than 3 days apart. So that would be an exception to the rule. A player could register for both of those tournaments and could technically play in both of those tournaments and not be in violation of the rule. Example number 2, level 5, scheduled for start date, same start date, overlapping weeks. And this will only be allowed if the entries close on different dates. And now that we're in an open border system and players can register for a level 5 in New England and Mid-Atlantic and Eastern, to help us sort of minimize the concurrent tournament entries that we foresee happening in now that we're in this new structure, we want to make sure that this is only going to be allowed if the entry close dates are different, with the assumption that the selection list in one will be posted and published before the selection list of the other. Another example, level 5 scheduled for April 9th, the level 6 scheduled for April 9th. Again, those are different levels. So those entry deadlines, or entry close dates will be staggered. So that would be acceptable. We also have a Super 6 scheduled for the same weekend as a National Level 3. Again, we want to encourage play opportunities. Players can certainly register for both of those. Because it's a national tournament, we're going to want to make sure we follow the national procedures, which is you just want to get in writing from both tournament directors that you've gone ahead and registered in multiple events. And at some point, there will be a time where you will need to withdraw from one of those tournaments. If you're accepted into the Super 6, but you're still an alternate on the national level 3, the more you dive into the granularness of the concurrent tournament rule, you will notice there will be a time in which a player will have to make a decision as to, do they want to remain on the alternate list or do they want to just play the Super 6? I think we have another one there. An L7 scheduled for January 17th and L6 scheduled for January 18th. This is another example of something that would be okay because the level 7 is a one-day event. So your tournament's going to be over before the other one even begins. And then we have just two more here. Super 6 closes. A Super 6 closed event. Closed. This is specific. We'll get to that later, but that's important. Scheduled for May 6th and a boys 14 scheduled for May 6th. So that would be okay. We are allowing in Eastern for our closed events to players to register for up to 2 divisions. And we're going to get into more of that a little bit later. This will only be applicable in the closed events, not the open events. And then of course, a player can always remain an alternate on any lists of multiple events on concurrent weekends. It's not until they're accepted into the tournament that it becomes a concern. So we'll just move on to the next slide. How late a match can be played. This is another one that we've really tried to. It's been a tricky one because we've got to work with our limited indoor court time in the East. But we also realize, we don't want players coming off the court as late. So we have made some revisions to this rule. We know this has been a big one. And I'm just going to highlight, actually, I have highlighted on the slide the ones that have been updated. I think the key points here are in the 14s division. That has now moved from 9 o'clock. It used to be 10 on a night not preceding school. And on a night preceding school, it's now 6 when it used to be 7. The other key word here is no match should start. This rule used to read no match should be scheduled later than the dates presented below. And, sometimes we would find that that rule would get a little, it wasn't used always in the right way. So we did change the word to start. And this is new as of 2021. And we can go to the next slide. Again, I'm just trying to highlight some of the new rules. There's still a lot of rules that you guys should definitely make sure you're privy to. This one's the player residency rule has changed. Before, obviously it says here, legal guardian may be the basis of a player's declaration. But it also says now that the physical address of a boarding school, including a tennis academy, may be the basis of a player's declaration of residency. So that had not been the case before. That is new. In addition, players may declare a different section and or district residency no more than once a calendar year. And that might prove helpful during these COVID times where people are picking up and temporarily relocating. Spectators and videotaping. I know right now we don't really have spectators at a lot of our tournaments because of COVID, but I just want to reiterate the point that player associates, those are spectators, any behavior deemed unacceptable or unsportsmanlike, not only does that mean your removal from the playing area or maybe the premises, but that does mean the immediate enforcement of the point penalty suspension system on your player that you're there watching and that you're there associated with. So just remember when you're spectating that your reactions could have a immediate effect on the player that you are there with. Videotaping and photography. This is also one that's been modified a little bit. It is permissible at Eastern sanctioned events. I think a lot of events you guys have attended in the past, it was not. It is permissible. However, it needs to be unobtrusive. You also need to receive approval, needs to be obtained from all players and guardians prior to the match. And at any point in time, videotaping can stop, and the tournament staff will intercede on behalf of the player. And again, videotaping, photography may only be used for personal and educational, non-commercial purposes. And we can go to the next slide. I want to just go over playing tennis safely. I mean, COVID continues to be with us. Our main priority is safety and keeping everyone safe. We are constantly updating our playing tennis safely recommendations for facilities, tournament directors, and spectators. Just trying to keep up with these ever-changing virus that we're dealing with. Now that borders are open and players are traveling across states, I have to emphasize how important and imperative it is that players be responsible to adhere to those state travel restrictions prior to participating. And players must agree as a condition of participation to certify to the host tournament director committee that they have complied with all the restrictions prior to participating. The other thing, New Jersey still has an order in place that is restricting out-of-state people coming into New Jersey for indoor youth competition. So at this point, National has given us the okay to continue to host L6 and L7 events. We hope that order gets lifted soon. We miss our New Jersey clubs running our higher level tournaments. Match Tennis app, that was a product that we were using, mandating in 2020. Due to all the new technology changes that are coming at us with Serve Tennis, we are not requiring tournament directors at this time to use Match Tennis app. It is a tournament by tournament decision. So I would just, again, read those notes on those tournament homepages. If the tournament is using Match Tennis app, follow the instructions for that particular tournament. Most tournament directors are putting waivers up on their website. These are required prior to play. And then I just added 2 more bullets here based on some questions we received from registrants prior to the start of this session. The national level 2s that are scheduled to happen February 6th through 8th, or 5th through 7th, something like that, that first weekend in February. Due to COVID, you know, it was just decided to implement this new way of doing level 2s. Basically, our main focus was to get level 2s happening, provide as many of these level 2 play opportunities to different areas of the country to minimize travel. And so there were more events per division that were approved. And then hence requiring players only register for one of those divisions. That is not going to be the process moving forward with all level 2s. It will revert back to what we're all used to. This is just a temporary thing to get us through some of these months that we're still dealing with the virus. In addition, the no ad format, again, that is just another thing that is not here to stay forever. It is something that we are using right now just to help move matches along and not have a lot of congregating, getting people on and off the court. We don't want spectators freezing in their cars. We really want to be able to say this match will be over with in a few hours and get the next round in. And so again, those are just to help us get through COVID. And again, thank you for everyone understanding that these are some of the decisions we've had to make. National standings list, another hot topic. There's so many. Basically, there are no more Eastern point tables. Everything is using the new national standing list. The whole country has adopted these national point tables, which means every tournament in the US, level 1 to level 7, counts for the same national, using the same national points. And everything will be in the same national standing list. We know this hasn't been the easiest rollout due to the fact that we cannot see player history records. This is estimated to be available in early February. Until then, it is very difficult for any of us to know how the calculation's working and what's being calculated. But we are trying our best to sort of just help guide people through this process. I do want to mention that the parts of the calculation are similar. Some are a little different than what we've been used to in Eastern. Best 6 singles and best 6 doubles during a rolling 12 months, that's the same. 15% of doubles is included in the list now, where in Eastern we used to count 25%. There is a 20% up aging up multiplier. So this means 20% of your points from the next younger age division will travel up to your next older age division. It only goes up 1 division, and it will, those 20% of points from the next younger age division will remain on your record in the older age division for a year after you've aged up. Points will continue to travel down in younger divisions as long as you have, you're still age eligible in those younger divisions and you have results in those divisions. Points will travel down. Bonus points are up to the top 500, where in Eastern they were just the top 50. And now I'm going to hand it off to Elena, who's just going to quickly go through our levels and know what you can expect when you show up to play in some of these tournaments.
Thanks, Julie, and hello, everyone. Glad to see so many people on. We've been trying to keep up with the chat. As you know, this year is a little different. We have a different structure in tournaments, and I'm going to address one by one the pathway, basically. So if you're transitioning from a 10 and under, let's say, you will probably be going into a level 7 event. Before that, of course, we do have events, and there was a question on that, that are non-sanctioned and give no points. So you'll be able to get into that event as well. But the first level 7 that gives you points, they're open to everyone. Don't forget, we're not only closed section tournaments anymore. Events are open that somebody from a different section can play in as well. The level 7s are 1-day events, 2-match minimum and 4-match max. Draws will be limited, and match formats are limited as well. And there'll be different formats that can be used by the tournament directors. We will have designated green ball weekends. Again, we are trying to encourage kids to play up, and when they kind of graduate, to be comfortable, right, to transition to the next level. And the round robins will not start after 5 p.m. Basically, these will be run during the day. So level 7s also will be bottom up selected, and what that means is first is selected the person who doesn't have a ranking, and then we go up to those who have some sort of a ranking, right? And if the draw is closed, we go towards whoever, with the alternates, whoever is basically registered first. And we've done that as well during the summer, as you know, with our closed events. Whoever gets selected, let's say top 16 or top 32, the alternate list is ordered. In this case, will be by timeline. With the level 6, that's, and I think most of the questions are coming at this level. Again, open to everyone. This is a 3-day event, 2-match minimum, 4-match maximum. The most important to remember here is that we are counting points per win, not points per round. Okay, so it's not how far you get in, it's how many matches you win. So that's very important to note. And there's different, again, draw types. It could be a compass draw, could be, round robin draw. So you could have different formats in different clubs. Don't be surprised about that. Draws will be limited, again, 16 or 32. We're playing pro sets, short sets with a tiebreaker. As you know, we've played a lot no ad, and again, just because in the times we are in. The selection process here changes. It will be out of the most recently published rankings, so keep that in mind. It starts very differently. With the level 5s, they are open again to everyone, as we said. But last year, let's say, we had no limit on our events, right? Currently, we have 36 only in Eastern section. So we've distributed kind of through the year. Sometimes you'll see 2 of them happening, and sometimes only 1. That means in the whole section, you might have only 1 boys 12s. So keep that in mind. And if the draw is limited, will be, a tough event. It's open to everyone. So somebody from California can fly in and play that. Not encouraging that, but just an option that could happen. You will not, this is not a single elimination as well. You will play at least one more round in the back draw. And again, the match formats are 2 sets with the tiebreaker. There'll be draw limits as well. We're trying to keep them minimum of 32 as of now. The level 4s. So the difference here is that from last year, each section has 8 level 4s, right? Singles, doubles, and mixed. 4 events are open to everyone, so everyone from the country can play them, and 4 events are closed only to Eastern, right? And don't forget, you can go and play that event somewhere else. A level 4 open, you can play in a different section. You can be in Florida and play that as well. It will count for the rankings, right? Again, we've distributed those events through the year. It all depends on how the country goes with COVID and if we can keep them and so forth. We've been very flexible and dynamic on those events, as everybody knows, to try to accommodate or try to change things and so on and so on. This is a non-elimination, as it has been before. Draw size will be limited, and match formats 2 out of 3. The closed events, you can register still to 2 age divisions, right? But will be admitted only to 1. And first we're going for the old age division, as we've done before. And then if you don't make it, you'll be considered for the younger age division, right? And if you're not considered in that, you'll be on the alternate list for the younger age division. That's important, because I know people have been asked, can I be on the alternate? Well, no. Since you're not even accepted, you will be an alternate for the lower age division. That's your level. A very important point, we will no longer have 2 out of 3 or 3 spots when we were considering kids from the younger age division, because we were doing that only for Eastern. Again, this is now unified structure, and it's going to be the same for the whole country. So we aligned with that as well. Level 3s. The level 3s is a little bit high event. It's going to be closed only for us, for Eastern kids. We will have 2 during the year, singles, doubles, and mixed. Again, you can register for 2 divisions, will be admitted in 1, the same exact thing as the level 4. I will no longer have spots, from the younger age division. So keep in mind that. But again, 2 events for the level 3s. And that's pretty much in a nutshell. We will have a lot of information for you posted on the next slide. Basically, all that we've spoken today about, links on where to go, how to learn more about the tournaments, the rankings, and everything else, how to register, how to withdraw. We've had a lot of questions on these with the new systems. A lot of people still have no idea of certain changes, which kind of, I would encourage you to get familiar with this. It is important. It is a little different, and it takes some time to get used to it. And again, that information we will post for you, and it will be shared. There was another question, if this information and this webinar is recorded. Yes, it is, and you will get to see it again. And with that, I'm going to kind of introduce our chair, USTA Eastern Section Chair of Officials, Dave Hanses, who's been extremely helpful through this whole process, and his team, of course. We want to thank him for all the help. We always get in touch when we have really tough questions from you guys, and basically school us on the rules and educate us further. So Dave has some really cool questions for you, and kind of a way to learn while we're here of the most important questions we have received this past year. And Dave, thanks again, and take it over.
All right, thanks, Elena. And certainly would like during this portion to try to have some fun as we discuss these tennis rules. I've tried to make them interactive for you, so you're not just sitting here listening to me, but we're actually going to be doing some polls that you'll be able to respond to. And as Elena mentioned, these are frequently asked questions that we receive, I receive as an official, the section office receives. And we also took some questions from you that you've submitted during the registration process and tried to incorporate them in. We're not recording your answers, so don't be all nervous and all stressed out about it. If you're not sure, take your best guess. And as I said, we'll discuss the answers, and then we will be able to hopefully, give you some background information, and certainly I'll provide you with the correct answer. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first question is, what is the first preferred method of resolving a on-court scoring dispute? So if you could just take a second or two and answer that question as to what you think the appropriate answer would be. And we do get a lot of questions on scoring disputes, and as an official, I get called to court a lot to try to resolve scoring disputes. So we do have a preferred method in resolving it. So we have about 38% of the people responded so far. So keep those answers coming in. It's looking pretty good at this point. So we have 56% in. So the correct answer is A, which the majority of people have chose, which is count all points in games agreed upon by the players and replay only disputed points or games. That is the first preferred method in resolving a scoring dispute. The second is letter C, which you would play from a mutually agreed upon score, and then followed by spinning a racket or tossing a coin. So, but when you're resolving it, it's best just to count all the points that have been played and only replay those disputed points if at all possible. Right. Let's go on to number 2. So number 2 is when playing a match on a clay court, which of the following is false? So when playing on a clay court, which one of those statements would be false? So if you could start replying to those. There we go. We got some people jumping in there early. Response is coming in a little slower here. But here we go. They're coming in good now. So what's the rules when playing on clay courts? As soon as we get to about 50%, I'll review the answer. So I'll give you just a few more seconds. All right, we are about 45% in. And the correct answer is letter C, which 65% of you indicated. So great job there. The player cannot cross the net to inspect the ball mark. So the player should never cross the net to check the ball mark. But there are some other good items in there. You should always give your opponent the benefit of the doubt. For example, when playing on clay, remember, if it touches any part or the mark touches any part of the line, that ball is good and should be played. So great job there. All right, number 3. In an Eastern tournament, if a player is overruled 2 times in the same match by an official, the third overrule will result in a code violation and loss of point. True or false? So that would be during the normal juniors event. In the overrule rule, and most sections do have this rule in place. It's not in friend at court. That's why I noted it in an Eastern tournament. And the correct answer is true. 76% of you, 77% of you got it correct. So we give them the benefit of the doubt for the first 2 overrules, but within the same match, if there becomes a third and a fourth, then it does become a code violation. It's going to be a point penalty. The next offense could be a game penalty, and the third may result in a default. So great job there. Moving on to the next one. During a juniors match with no athletic trainer available, a player twists her ankle. Who can treat the player's ankle? So in a junior event, we don't have a tournament trainer on staff or on hand for this event, as in many junior tournaments we don't have. Who actually can treat the player? All right, we're about 47%. All right, 55%, 57%, and you guys are right on, 81% of you. The correct answer is C and D. So the correct answer is a parent. or the player may treat themselves. The USTA official should not treat any players on court. They can provide supplies if you need a wrap, or they can get you ice, but they shouldn't give any medical direction. So it would be a parent or the player themselves. Friend at court defines it as any person who the player elects, or the player may simply choose to treat themselves. Generally, I limit it to one person. So, if they want a parent to come out, they can't have the mom and the dad and the brother come out. It should just be limited to one person. And you want to stay close to make sure that no coaching takes place during it. Not only from the injured player, but the uninjured player. There is no coaching during a medical timeout. All right, let's move on to the next one. How long is a medical timeout for treatment on the twisted ankle in the above example? So let's say we have the parent come out to treat. How much time do they get to actually treat the player? And this would be after supplies have been located. So if you need to get them supplies, ice or something, once it's brought to court and you explain the medical timeout, how much treatment time do they have? Answer's a little bit slower coming in here, but you're still doing a great job. Right now we are about 47%, so we'll wait just for a couple more seconds to get a couple more answers in. And we're now at 56, 57%. So the correct answer is letter B, 3 minutes of treatment time. So 52% of you got that answer correct. So good job there with that one. Most people think there's evaluation time, but there is not evaluation time unless there's a trainer that's doing the treatment. Then they are entitled to evaluation time. When there's no trainer, it's simply 3 minutes of treatment. So good job with that one. Bring up the next one. All right, a player needs a Band-Aid for a small cut on his finger, or his finger is bleeding. Is the player allowed to take a medical timeout? So what do you think about that? It's a little tricky, the question, so you got to read it through. Had to put some hard ones in there to try to stump you a little bit and make you think. So we do have 54% of the people responding. The correct answer is no. Actually, if the finger is bleeding, that is considered a bleeding timeout, and the bleeding timeout is separate from the medical timeout. So if they need to put a Band-Aid on, that's really a bleeding timeout. That's not part of the medical timeout. So if they needed to have a medical timeout for a non-bleeding injury during the match, they still would be entitled to do so. So the trick there was the whole blood thing and the fact that it's not technically a medical timeout. All right, number 7. Which of the following situations would not be considered a code violation under the point penalty system? So when we give codes as officials, which one of these items would not be considered part of the, would be a code violation? Boy, everyone's doing an outstanding job there. We got 41% of the people in. Everyone's got the right answer so far. So great job there. You guys are right on. Breaking a string while serving is not a code violation. However, the other items listed there, such as racket abuse, audible or visible coaching, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, any audible obscenities or any abusive conduct by a player or abusive conduct by a person associated with the player could be a code violation under the point penalty system. So you guys did a great job there, just making sure you're paying attention there. Number 8. Which of the following situations would not be considered abusive behavior by a person associated with a player? And Julie had mentioned in one of her slides earlier about spectator behavior, which is very important. So we'll put this question in to try to recap some of the things that would not be acceptable from a spectator and which item would be acceptable from a spectator. These items are all listed in the friend at court in table 14. They are listed there for you as well. So we do have 50% of the people in, 98% of you got the correct answer. It is cheering a good shot by the opponent is clearly acceptable. In fact, is encouraged. Confronting the opponent and calling him a cheater is clearly non-acceptable behavior and could result in a penalty against the player that's actually on court. Pounding on the glass or window in the observation area, yelling at the opponent's parent, abusing the official and/or tournament director, again, would not be acceptable. All right, what happens when a player reverses their out call? So during the match, they called the ball out, and then they changed the call to good. They thought about it, or it was really close, and they decided to call it good. So what's going to happen in that particular case? And this rule changed several years ago. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that. We're doing a great job there. 40% of the people win. You do have the correct answer. The point goes to the opponent, so it's never replayed. If you call it out and then you correct it, then the point does go to your opponent. And I'm happy to report no one answered letter E. Just act like it never happened. All right. On poll number 10. If a player is not in a good position to make a call on a shot landing on his end of the court, the player should do what? So maybe they was behind them on the baseline, they couldn't see it. Was way over on the sideline, they couldn't clearly see where the ball landed. What should the player do? All right, and we got about 50%, 53, 54% in. You got that answer right. 96% of you said call the shot good, which is correct. Call it good, and if you can't see it, then you can't make the call, and you should give that point to your opponent to give them the benefit of the doubt. All right, number 11. Who can call a let on a court when a ball rolls onto the court from another court? So again, I get that question a lot, is who can call that let when that ball rolls on from another court? All right, we got 55, 57% of you responded, got the answer correct. 88% of you got it correct. Any player on that court can call the let. We just ask that the call be made immediately as soon as the ball comes on. You can't wait till it rolls and stops and then you hit a shot and then say, hey, well, that ball distracted me. The call needs to be immediate, but it can be anyone on either side of the court can actually make that call. In doubles, any of the 4 players on court, and in singles, either player can make the call. All right, and following up to that question, we have another one. Who can call a service let? So now we're playing, and we know the ball ticked the net cord coming over. Who can call a service let? All right, give you a few more seconds there. Glad to see everyone's participating here. Might have some future tennis officials here. Which is great. We always need officials out there. All right, so we got right about 59, 60% responding. You got the answer correct there. 71% of you. Any player on the court, again, can call the let. So it's the same answer as above. Any player on the court. Some people think it's just the receiver, but it is actually any player on the court, and that is that's listed in the forensic court as well. All right, we're almost done. Just a few more to get through here. Coaching is permitted during the following time during a match. So in a junior match, when are you permitted to coach? All right, the answers are rolling in there. I can see you guys are thinking about it. Some wheels spinning out there. All right, So wait till we get to a little over 50%. All right, we're at 51%. Correct answer, as you come up with, 67% of you came up with it. It's during the 10-minute rest period. Coaching is permitted. Coaching is not permitted during a bathroom break for either player. It's not permitted during the 2-minute set break. Not permitted during the medical timeout. We talked about that earlier, a medical timeout or a bleeding timeout. No coaching is permitted, as well as when equipment or clothing is being adjusted for either player. No coaching is permitted. So the correct answer is just during that 10-minute break before the third set. Which of the following is considered coaching and is not permitted? So people ask me all the time, hey, what can I do? What can I say as far as coaching? We'll see what we can come up with there. 31% in, 36% in, 39% in, kind of all swayed one way here, all going one way. And we get a couple more in here. All right, we're at 57%. And did get the answer correct. It is E, all of the above. 98% of you responded correctly to that question. So the friend at court defines coaching as to be considered as any communication, advice or instruction of any kind by any means to a player, whether it's electronically, whether it's via hand signals, again, yelling out, commands, all could be considered a form of coaching, and could result in a code violation towards the player on court. All right, during a match, in the middle of a game, there's an error discovered in the order of the receiving pattern. We're playing doubles. So the receivers have switched positions in the middle of the game, or the start of a new game that's not the start of a new set. So what should happen in this case? And this question comes up and is a little tricky. So again, I was looking for some tricky questions to put on here, and this is one that I came up with. All right, we got 26, 29. I can see you're really thinking on this one. It's kind of split. The whole decision's kind of split. And we'll give a couple more of you a couple seconds to respond. All right, and the correct answer is C. Leave it altered until the end of the game. So this is one of the exceptions. Usually when you have errors in tennis, it'll tell you correct it immediately. So if you're serving out of order, it will say you correct it immediately. In doubles, if the wrong person's serving, you correct it as soon as discovered. But in doubles, the receiving pattern, the rule is clear that you would leave it as altered until the end of that game, and then the next game in which they would become the receiver, they would then need to make sure they're doing it correctly. So I'm glad nobody answered yell at the players for changing positions and playing the game. So just making sure that you're paying attention there. All right. Number 16, what's the maximum time allowed between points? Maximum time allowed between points. And this is also a rule that changed last year in 2020. So see how we're doing there. How much time can you have between points? All right, we got 53% in. So you got it right. 70% of you got it right. 25 seconds between points. It used to be 20 seconds up until last year, and then it was increased from 20 seconds to 25 seconds to match the pros. So that's that one. And we got one more here for you. Last question is, what's the correct height of the net for doubles? So when you're playing doubles, how high should the net be? All right, 27, 30%, 35%. All right, we're getting there. A couple more answers, give you another second or two. And you got it right. 83% of you got it correct. 30 people. 36 inches should be the height of the net. There's a little trick question there. It's the same height for both singles as well as doubles. There's no difference. the center of the net should always be 36 inches in height. So hopefully you found that that information helpful. And I'm not sure if any questions came in, but if someone was monitoring the chat box and you have questions for me, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Hi, Dave. We did have one on the 15 on bleeding timeout. Can you just elaborate a little bit more on what
Sure.
is allowed on a bleeding timeout? Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. The bleeding timeout, the friend of court states that it can be up to 15 minutes. So I stress it's up to, it's not an automatic 15 minutes. And it's the required time that it takes to stop the bleeding, as well as to clean the court if the court needs to be cleaned, or if the player needs to wash their hands. That would all be included in that time. So, you know, if it's just as simple as someone needs a Band-Aid, they have a cut, we can get them a Band-Aid and get a Band-Aid put on their finger and they're ready to go in 30 seconds, then that's really what the bleeding timeout is. The bleeding timeout kind of has the same rules as far as medical timeouts, as far as the number of bleeding timeouts you can have. You can only have one bleeding timeout within for the same injury within the match. So, you know, if you skin your right knee and it's bleeding and you can get it wrapped and taped, then you are not entitled to another bleeding timeout for that right knee. But if you fall and unfortunately scrape your left elbow, then you could have another bleeding timeout for the left elbow. But those are not considered medical timeouts. And I did see one question pop in: what happens if you can't stop the bleeding in 15 minutes? Then unfortunately the player would need to retire. 15 minutes would be the maximum time that you could put in.
There was another one in here, Dave, from Arthur. If players are in wrong receiving positions in multiple games, should a penalty be imposed?
No, it's corrected as soon as it's discovered. So as soon as the players I'm sorry, it's not corrected. You bring it to their attention, they stay in to finish that game, and then they would have to switch it back to where they should be on the next game that they receive. But those games, previous games, were played in good faith. Nobody caught it. It's unfortunate, but no, you should not penalize them for that.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other questions?
I think that's it. So Dave,
Very good.
thank you so much. I know some people heard you present on some of these questions last night. Yep. We just think it's always good to review these with tournament directors and with players. So Dave, thank you so much for letting us use you multiple times during this conference. We're doing a great job on the poll. And, you know, I think it's just important to share with our listeners that officiating is a huge part of a tournament success. We realize that, and that's why it's been great having Dave in this leadership position. We've been really able to align nicely, and I know we've got more officials joining Eastern every year. So Dave, thank you for all your hard work and for being a great teammate in all of this. And then before we close out, if anyone wants to participate in some fun raffle prizes we have to give out, we have 3 questions for our listeners. But before I give you these questions, I do need you to follow these instructions. We are going to have you put the answers in the chat. But before you put the answer in the chat, I do need you to write your full name. So I need the person answering the question, their full first and last name, and then the answer to the question. And the first one to do that, Elena, Gustavo, if you guys see who those individuals are going to be, if you could just announce their names. And then we're going to tell our winners how you redeem your prizes. So just to see if everyone's been paying attention, because I know we've gone over a lot with you here. We really opened up this presentation to a very large audience. So we wanted to keep it relevant to tournament directors, coaches, and players. So hopefully we've been able to do that for everybody today. But you know, if you have one-on-one questions, the junior comp team is available to answer those for you. So the first trivia question, again, Put your answer in the chat. Make sure to write your full name and the correct answer. What does WTN stand for? What does WTN stand for? There we go. Domingo. Oh, no. Lopa. No, guys, help me out. Maureen Holtz, I think. Maureen Holtz got it correct. She was the first one to do it. So,
it was quick.
I know. They like all just started coming in. Like a lot of you got it correct. So good job. Maureen, though, you were our first one. So congratulations. Maureen, we're just going to have you go ahead and follow these instructions. Please email Monica at, I'm putting this in the chat. And you're going to email Monica at that address, your mailing address, the session you attended to win the raffle prize. And everyone can follow. Our next two questions, our next two winners can just follow those same instructions, but congratulations to Maureen. Our next question is, what is the percentage of points that travel up to your next older age division? I know I really found some easy ones here.
Lopa.
Lopa, you were the first one to get that correct.
Yep.
So Lopa, please go ahead and email Monica at lemura@eastern.usta.com. Looks like Kristen's putting that in there. Congratulations. And then the last one for this group, what is the selection process for level 7 tournaments? Bottom up.
That was quick. Mr. Chen.
Mr. Chen. Okay, so we don't have your full name unless maybe that's it. Sometimes it's hard to tell from these. So Jean Song Chen, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, but you are our winner. If you could also email Monica Lemura at lemura@eastern.usta.com to redeem your prizes. And I did say at the beginning, this meeting was recorded, and we will be sure to share this deck as well as the recording with all of our participants. So thank you so much for being with us today. Everyone enjoy the rest of your week, and hopefully you can come out and see some more of the Eastern Tennis Conference.